Smile 2. Set just after the first film, pop star Sky Riley is the next victim of the ever-stalking, ever-grinning evil entity. So now we have our sequel. Now, if you've watched my top 10 favorite films of 2022 video, you would have seen that Smile was my third favorite film of 2022. I bloody loved it. Yes, the jump scares and fake outs became tiresome, and the ending involved a certain character doing something stupid, but the rest of the film impressed me to no end. Parker Finn wrote and directed the hell out of it, the soundtrack and cinematography were brilliant, Sosie Bacon was wonderful as the lead, and the main antagonist genuinely did scare me. That whole prison sequence got right under my skin, and the last few minutes worked so well for me. A great horror film, so I was very apprehensive of this sequel. We didn't need a Smile sequel, so what was the point other than money, right? Let's find out. So the opening sequence is all kinds of brilliant. It's shot to make it look like one continuous unbroken take, and it looks fantastic. I was completely gripped and on the edge of my seat. The problem was, the opening sequence ended exactly how I expected it to, and I really didn't want that to happen. I thought it was completely unnecessary, and had it not ended that way, it could have led to some organic exposition later on. A big missed opportunity there, but once I adjusted to it, I was very impressed by the character Sky Riley. Look, most of us will never learn what it's like to be a rich global megastar, so Sky wasn't that relatable. But the script did a good job of pulling us into her lifestyle and showing us her vulnerabilities. As the film states, being rich and famous does not solve all of your problems. She is a broken mess and the perfect victim for the villain. And I also appreciated how she became the next victim. It's simple, but very effective. Naomi Scott was fantastic as Sky. I think she did just as good a job as Sosie Bacon did in the first Smile. In fact, probably better, because this protagonist has to deal with all of the stresses we got familiar with in the first film, but whilst always being in the public eye. Naomi Scott has to convey all of that layered stress and trauma constantly, and she did so flawlessly. It's a fantastic lead performance. Smile 2 also looks and sounds amazing. There are plenty of original pop songs here that actually sound like big hits, and the score, although not as creepy as it was in the first film, still works. It also looks fantastic. Parker Finn proved in the first Smile that he knew exactly what to do with the camera, and this sequel proves that he hasn't forgotten. Cinematography is indeed an art, and Smile 2 makes a case of that. Great stuff. But after a while, Smile 2 started losing me. Aside from some pointless little beats like a creepy fan who has no use whatsoever, the film became kind of overly familiar. We're just watching this pop star discover things we as the audience already knew after watching the first film, and plenty of the scary sequences were predictable. I wasn't scared by any of it. I knew where most of it was going, and the annoying jump scares from the first film came back with a vengeance. Just like the first film, some of them work great, but most of them do not. They annoyed me. So, for a while, I thought to myself, there's no point in this sequel. It's not expanding the universe much at all. In fact, I think this could have worked more as a drama about a pop star rather than a horror film, because the horror elements just aren't that great. The best parts of this film are the character development and the performances. So as a horror film, this is a big letdown. But then, thankfully, the last 35 minutes or so came, and it was totally worth the wait. It kept zigging when I expected it to zag, the rug kept getting pulled out from under me, and I fell back in love with Smile 2 again. I nervously awaited any flaws, praying that nothing would come along and taint this beauty, and thankfully that never happened. It stuck the landing completely. The ending sequence was the perfect way to end this film, and when the credits went up, I thought to myself, now that is how you do a modern day horror sequel. So, in the end, Smile 2 is a very welcome sequel. It has some fantastic performances and cinematography, and it continues the story in a very satisfying way. The midpoint does become too familiar and pretty unscary, but after a while it does reward your patience. The third act is bloody brilliant and the ending is just perfect. I do believe that we'll get more Smile films down the road, but after an ending this good, I don't really need them. Parker Finn really did impress us with a great debut feature, but here, he's shown that he knows how to avoid sequelitis. I don't think this is as good as the first film, but bloody hell, it was close. I'm gonna give Smile 2 a 7.5 out of 10. Thanks for watching, guys. Stay jiggy. The badger appreciates ya.